You know, sometimes the quietest scenes hide the absolute loudest secrets. Today, we're going to unravel a story that starts not with a bang, but with a single overlooked stitch. This is the incredible, chilling case of Mrs. Halloran.
Okay, so let's get right into it. On one side, you have the official report. A 91-year-old woman passes away in her sleep. Sad, sure, but totally straightforward. But then, on the other side, you've got this detective who looks at the exact same scene and sees something else entirely. He sees a murder. And the weapon? Well, the only real clue is a piece of knitting.
So the coroner comes in and sees exactly what you'd expect, right? An elderly woman sitting in her favorite armchair. Her knitting is just resting in her lap. There's a cup of tea on the table right next to her, but it's gone cold. Everything, and I mean everything, pointed to a peaceful end to a very long life.
And our detective? He almost did agree. He would have signed off on it, closed the book, and moved on, except for that one little thing. The knitting. It was the one piece of the puzzle that just didn't fit.
See, this wasn't just some gut feeling he had. The evidence was right there, literally in the yarn. He noticed that the last 6 inches of the scarf, they were different. The stitches were all tight, irregular, like they were done in a huge hurry. And then this weird pale gray yarn shows up out of nowhere. And that's when he saw it. Woven right into the fabric were letters. A message.
Can you imagine the chill running down his spine as he deciphers the first words, knitted by the victim herself in her final moments? He came back. So not just some random intruder. This was someone from her past.
And he wasn't just from her past. He was a ghost from decades ago. The knitting gives a specific date, 1962. I mean, what on earth happened back in 1962 that would lead to this moment, right here?
She was trying so hard to give him the final clue, the key to the whole thing. But that's where the message just cuts off. Check the what? The old police records, the newspapers? Her last word, her final plea for justice was left hanging.
She ran out of time. Her killer, who had been watching her this entire time, finally made his move. That final stitch was her last act of defiance. It was her last chance to speak. And this just raises a really disturbing question, doesn't it? This wasn't a crime of passion or some frantic, messy struggle. This was something else. It forces the detective and us to try and understand the mind of a very, very different and frankly terrifying kind of killer. And here's the portrait of the killer's mindset that the detective pieces together. First, he watches his victim knit her own accusation. He's patient, he waits. But the most terrifying part, he is so arrogant. He is absolutely convinced of his own brilliance, so sure that this tiny, desperate message would just never be found. And once the detective knew who he was looking for, all the other little clues just snapped right into place. Suddenly, the most normal details became incredibly sinister. The unlocked door? That wasn't just forgetfulness, it was an invitation. The tea was cold, yeah, but it had been brewed recently. And the chair Mrs. Halloran died in, was still warm.
I mean, when you lay it all out like that, the timeline is just horrifyingly tight. The killer shows up, he lets her knit this message, the murder happens, and the detective arrives so soon after that that the chair where the killer must have been sitting to watch her is still warm to the touch.
And that is the final, jaw-dropping realization for the detective. The warmth in the chair isn't just left over from Mrs. Halloran. Someone else sat there after she was gone, probably admiring their work. The killer was right there, in that exact spot, just moments before the police walked in.
And that's the thought that just leaves you hanging, isn't it? A killer this confident, this close to being caught. He didn't just disappear into thin air. He could be next door. He could be watching from across the street. He's out there, totally certain he got away with it. The real question is, did he?